Hello, this is an instructional video on how to complete the online form to submit a project request for consideration into the new TSPLOST 2023 program. The form can be found by visiting the ACCGov website at ACCGov.com/TSPLOST. Once the web page comes up, you will access the form by clicking this link. Be aware that project submissions does require detailed information such as cost projections. There are two links provided here with the template of the form. You may download one of these templates to help you prepare your responses ahead of time, and then you can come back and submit the form online. Take time to read through this general information that will be helpful to keep in mind as you complete the form. There are a few very important things I would like to point out. Saving your work. Work done on the form is saved until the Save and Resume Later feature is selected. As we go throughout the form a little bit later, I will point out how you would select that feature if needed. Also, attachments. Supporting documents may be uploaded in the project request form. There are several upload attachment options throughout the form. It is important to note that the total file size of all attachments may not exceed 25 megabytes. As stated above, there are three things that must be completed before being allowed to proceed with filling out the form. First, we ask that you read the TSPLOST 2023 Project Request General Information. That document may be accessed by clicking this link and then come back and acknowledge that you've done so. Also, please read the TSPLOST 2023 Program Goals and Selection Criteria. That document may be accessed by clicking this link. Then come back and acknowledge that you've done so. Lastly, we ask that anyone or group submitting a project other than an ACCGov department should contact the appropriate ACCGov department for assistance or to simply let the department know of your planned submission. The ACCGov department contact information is provided here. And after you have contacted the appropriate department, come back here and acknowledge that you have done so. After all three of those items have been taken care of, you may proceed with filling out the form. I will be submitting a test project throughout this process so that you're able to see the submission process from beginning to end. It is important to keep in mind that any fields with an asterisk means that that is a required field. You will not be able to submit the final project request until all required fields have been answered. Here, we ask that you select the project transportation area that best describes your proposed project. Once you have done so, it will ask who the form is being submitted by. If you are submitting as the department director, or if you are staff submitting on behalf of your department director, you would select so here. If you are not an ACCGov department director or representative, you would select other and provide the appropriate contact information. Next, it asks, would this project accomplish the next phase of a project started in one or more of the earlier SPLOST or TSPLOST programs? If the answer is yes, select yes. Then we ask that you select the previous program and the previous project as appropriate. If the answer is no, simply click no. If you select no, it will then ask if the proposed project or a substantially similar project has been submitted for a previous SPLOST or TSPLOST program but was not selected. If the answer is yes, select yes, and then select which previous program. If the answer is no, simply select no and move forward. Here you will review the descriptions of the 3 general program goals or triple bottom line and select the one that best fits the overall project. You will continue with the form. It is important to keep in mind that some questions will require additional information depending on how the question is answered. For example, this question, if I select no, you simply move forward. If you select yes, then additional information will appear that you will need to fill out. It is also important to note that as you go throughout the form, some questions you will be limited in how much you can respond. For example, these 2 questions, you are limited to 2,500 characters. So keep that in mind as you go throughout the form and you're preparing your responses. I did want to point out the save and resume later feature. If for any reason as you go through the form, if you need to stop and return at a later time, or if you have someone else that needs to fill out a portion, this is the option that you would need to select so that your work would be saved. After you select the feature, you would click Save and Get Link, and it would create a custom hyperlink for you that you would use to access the form and resume where you left off. And that hyperlink would be good for 30 days. Next, you will need to select how the project will meet one or more of the following criteria. You will check all that apply to your proposed project and explain. For each selection that you select, you will be required to explain how your project would meet that criteria. And those are required fields, so just keep that in mind. Here you will find the upload attachment features. You're not required to use these, but they are there for you to use for any supporting document that may be important to your submission. Again, keep in mind that the total of all uploads throughout the form may not exceed 25 megabytes. Next will be your project cost projections. We ask that you do please round all dollar amounts to the nearest $1,000. Under each category, there's a helpful guide on what should be taken into consideration when calculating the cost. You will notice that there are several fields that will auto-populate for you based on a predetermined formula. Those fields cannot be edited. Again, here is 2 upload attachment options. for any supporting documentation that you feel is important to your submission. Next is project financing. Is the proposed project to receive funding from sources other than TSPLOST 2023? If the answer is no, you will simply click no and move forward. If the answer is yes, there will be additional information that you will need to provide. This field is auto-populated from the previous section. Then you would go through and determine what additional sources this project would have. You would also need to describe the current commitments for the other sources funding this project. Next is operating cost. Will the proposed project impact ACCGov's operating cost? If the answer is no, you simply select no and move forward. If the answer is yes, you will need to provide additional information. Again, we ask that you please round all dollar amounts to the nearest $1,000. If there is a category not listed, you can use one of the other fields, and then you would need to describe what the other category was. Will the proposed project require new ACCGov staff positions? If the answer is no, you simply click no and move forward. If the answer is yes, that it will require new ACCGov staff positions, you would select yes and then fill in the appropriate information. If more than one position would be required, you have the option to select yes to enter more than one. If there are no additional, you would simply select no to move forward. Does this project require the acquisition of any land rights, whether existing sites, new site easements, or rights of way? If the answer is no, or if you are unsure, you would select so and move forward. If the answer is yes, it will generate additional information that would need to be filled out as applicable to your project. Next is the triple bottom line impacts. You may refer back to Section 1, Program Goals. It is best that you be as detailed as possible in your responses on your submission. And lastly, once properly completed and submitted, the form cannot be changed. You will need to check this box to indicate that you have completed the form and that you are ready to submit. You do have the option to go back to previous sections if you want to double check your responses. When you are ready to submit, you would click Agree and then Submit Form. After you submit your form, you will receive a message letting you know that it was submitted successfully. A copy of your form responses will also be emailed to you at the email address that you provided. If you have any questions or need additional assistance with the form, please contact the TSPLOST office at 706-613-3025, or you may email any questions to tsplost@accggov.com. Thank you.